Hey Bulldogs, Bryant here. In today's Take a Deep Breath CCNP Route and TSHOOT Video Bootcamp and Philosophy class, we're going to talk about For Want of a Nail. And the demo, of course, is going to be on live Cisco routers by yours truly. We're going to dive into that in just a moment. Just a quick word here because a lot of you have asked for this feature and we've just added it, so I want you to know about it. My CCNP Route DVD, our best-selling DVD, brings you over 25 hours of clear, comprehensive labs and lecture, including my famous BGP material where I actually make all that stuff understandable. And not only can you start watching it online right after you purchase, you can also download the videos. You actually get a discount on top of the already low price if you buy the download only version, but if you buy the DVD, you can still download one video or all of them right after your purchase. So you can literally start studying just minutes from now. I've got that bit.ly link there for you, and you can come on out at the website. We've got an hour of free samples there for you to watch as well. So let's jump right back in, or in this case, jump back to the first screen, and we're going to talk about For Want of a Nail and why I'm even bringing that up today. And thanks to our friends at Wikipedia here, we've got the screen up from that site For Want of a Nail, and I love their description, a proverbial rhyme showing that small actions can result in large consequences. I absolutely love that because if that doesn't describe networking, I don't know what does. And of course, small inactions can result in large consequences as well. So there's got to be a reason that I brought that up. And of course, this goes for all of us CCNA and CCNP students alike, but especially those of you working on the TSHOOT exam. You know, the most difficult part of troubleshooting, and the part that a lot of us really like, we like this adrenaline rush, because when you get there, if you're primarily a troubleshooter, when you get there, stuff's not working and people aren't happy. That's just the way it is. And you've got to remain calm in the middle of all this and look for what the problem is. And then, of course, how to resolve it. But most of the time in networking, I would say, not all the time certainly, but most of the time, when you're troubleshooting, you either are getting what you want or you're not. And it's not often that you just get some of what you want. And that happens when you start working with route filtering. You know, you're working with an ACO, you're trying to filter out some routes, that kind of thing. But the situation that we're going to look at here in just a moment on live Cisco routers, this is a troubleshooting situation where a friend of yours or a friend of mine calls one of us and says, hey, you know, I'm doing redistribution into OSPF and I'm getting some of my routes, but I'm not getting all of them. And of course, my first question and your first question would be, you know, are you doing some kind of route filtering? You know, do you have any ACLs in place? Something like that. He says no. Okay. Well, of course, part of being a network troubleshooter is being a detective because for one reason or another, we're not always getting a 100% straight story from the person we're talking to, but the equipment doesn't lie to us very often. So let's go ahead and call the routers up here. Let's say that we're on router 3 here in our network, and he is redistributing all these loopbacks, all these loopback addresses, or networks, I should say. So, you know, you got the top of the config, and here are your loopback addresses, and everything looks fine. And you go down here to the OSPF config, and that's about as simple as it's ever going to get. You got a network command, and then we're redistributing the connected networks into OSPF. So everything looks perfectly fine there. And you go to a downstream router, in this case the hub of the hub and spoke network, and let's run show IP route OSPF, where we're getting some of the routes. 711 is usually lucky, but not in this case because they're the only two routes we're getting. So that's kind of odd because if we weren't getting any of the routes, it would be a little easier to troubleshoot, but we're getting some of them. And we know that with OSPF there's no seed metric issue because the default seed metric for OSPF is what? Of course it's 20, it's right there on the screen right in front of us. So we've got that. Why aren't those other routes being redistributed? What I would do in this case is look to see what the routes that are being successfully redistributed have in common. And of course, they're going to have a lot in common here because, of course, the AD is going to be 110. The AD is going to be 110. Metric is the same. They're all coming from that one downstream router. And of course, they're marked E2. That's our default for routes redistributed into OSPF. But what else have they got in common there? And let's go back over to the router that's doing the redistributing. and take a look at these networks. What do these networks have in common, the ones that aren't being redistributed? Because the only ones we're seeing are 7 and 11. And it's probably screaming right at you. You know, when your masks are different like that, that's kind of a tip-off that something's going on. Well, it looks like our two classful routes, our two classful networks, the 7 and 11 networks with the 8-bit mask, they're being successfully redistributed, but the others are not. But with OSPF, what do we care? You know, I mean, if it were RIP version 1, I could see the problem here maybe, but redistribute connected, it's a legal command. What's wrong with it? What's wrong with it is something that happened when you and I, as the network troubleshooters, were not configuring it. We didn't see this part, and it's easy to overlook it because redistribute connected is a legal command. But what you really need in this case is this subnets option. Now, you may have seen this before. You've certainly seen it in my class if you're taking it, but I want you to see this in action and see what it looks like. Because our classful routes are getting redistributed, it's our classless ones that aren't. And if I do a redistribute connected here by itself, you remember the message we get, have you seen this before? Only classful networks will be redistributed. People gloss over this, and they'll just do redistribute connected. You know, maybe they're in a hurry, you know, maybe they're doing lab work, who knows, but they just say, okay, I saw a message, don't worry about it. Well, in this case, the message did tell you what the problem was going to be. But if you went ahead and did redistribute connected, of course your classful networks are going to be redistributed. So now we've seen this in action. Now, of course, the solution is to get redistribute connected subnets onto this router, and then of course check router 1. What I would do for housekeeping is remove the redistribute connected command first, because that is not going to be overwritten by redistribute connected subnets. They're two different commands, and it can cause confusion for somebody who comes in behind you and says, well, why are both of these redistribute connected commands there? I'll take one out, and then they take the subnets command out. You see what I'm saying? So we don't want that to happen. So I'll just do a no redistribute connected, and with OSPF, of course, the convergence is very fast. And by the time I go over to router 1, those routes are already gone. Redistribution has already been removed. Now in just a second here, I'll go ahead and put the redistribute connected subnets command on, and we'll see the result. And again, redistribute connected, legal command, but it's not going to give you everything you want. Now let's go over to router 1. I don't know if it'll be there that quick, so I hesitated for a moment. And you can see now you've got your full table there. And you see exactly what happened there. Just for the want of a nail, for the want of that one little option on the end of a legal command, we were not getting our subnets, but now we are. And now you've seen that in action. So thanks for watching today's video. I do want to invite you out to join me on Twitter, on YouTube, on our blog, and especially on Facebook. And we've got plenty of new books coming out on Amazon.com here in 2012. As well. So we look for you there. And again, I'm Chris Bryant. Thanks for watching today's video.